Hello everyone, I'm back again with another tutorial. This is very similar to the last one I did. This is a 24-inch rosebud cardigan, and I have written down here, I'll blow it up. This is what I've done so far. You will probably need 200-gram balls. I won't know for sure until I've actually finished it and weigh it, but that's usually how much it takes. And it's a 24-inch rosebud lace button-up cardigan, needles 325 and 4mm. And the chest, the finished measurement will be 25, the side is 9.5, the sleeve is 10.5, and I haven't got the back measurement down yet. I just know what these measurements are. In the back, for 325 needles, you cast on 71 stitches and rib one by one for 12 rows, and then change to 4mm needles, knit in stocking stitch for 4 rows. And then the rows, the different rows, are how I'm going to show how to do the stitches. Let some wool off the ball. So the first row of the pattern is this row down here, and this row. This one and that one. So we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, knit 2 together. If you've been following my other tutorial for the 22-inch in this one, you know how to do these stitches. But let's knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 5, and repeat that across the row to the last 3 stitches. And now at my last 3 stitches, so knit those 3 stitches. The next row is purl, and just purl to the end of that row. That's a purl row knitted, and I'm on to the second row of the pattern, the single, the whole. I'm going to knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's wool forward, knit 2, and then we're going to knit 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, wool forward again, knit 2 together, and then knit 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then repeat that all the way across the row. And now we see at the end of that row. So that's that row knitted with the single hole above the 2 little holes, and then we're going to do a purl row and then knit 4 rows, and then I will come back to you with the second part of the buds, this row. So that's the first 8 rows of the pattern, and we're going to do the 9th row now. And the 9th row is starting with some wool out. There's only enough room to do half of the rosebud, and so we're going to knit one, bring the wool forward, slip one, knit one, pass the slip stitch over. So that's the half of the rosebud we've done there. And I'm knitting 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you're not sure, where I've told you in the other videos I did for this, where to put the rosebud, you go count 1, 2 rosebuds below, and you follow that centre stitch, that's the single hole, up to the needle, and that's the stitch on the needle. So those are the 2 stitches you knit together, and that's the 1 stitch you knit, and then the 2 stitches are slipped. So that's how you find out whether you're in the right place for the rosebud. So that's knit 2, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and I'll put that down in better you can see. There's the centre hole for the centre stitch, follow that up to the needle, and there's the centre stitch there, and there's stitches the wool forward on either side. And simple as that. Then I'm going to knit another 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will finish the end of that row and come back after that. Well, I've knit up to the armholes, and I knit 9.5 inches, which is where this rosebud here starts. That was where I started the armholes. So that's just slightly more than 9.5 inches. And the body is going to measure nearly 13. It's for a 24 inch. Well, you do need a little bit extra. You don't have it for the actual measurement of the body. Put that down. So I have cast off 3 stitches. I'll turn this up a little bit. So I've cast off 3 stitches at the start of the knit row, and then 3 stitches at the start of the purl row. The first set of decreasing, and then on every alternate row after that. And I'm onto a decreasing row, so it's knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, and then pass that slip stitch over. And then you have to find out where you're going to put the next rosebud, and that's one there where you go to the one below that one. You go to the second one down, that's the first one, the second one down, and follow that centre line from the hole there. That's where your centre stitch is. You go up to the needle to there, and the 2 stitches after that are the first 2 that you knit together. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches I'm going to knit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and then knit another 5, And the same again, going to knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, and carry on to the end of the row, and I'll come back when I get to the end of the row. That's the back finished, and I knit 9.5 inches up to the armholes and cast off 3 stitches each side, and on the 5th row I started decreasing, and on every alternate row until I had 25 stitches, I think. I'll check. 20, yes. Till there was 25 stitches left. That's how many I've got left on the holder here. So that was that sorted. And the next part is the left side. On the left side I have cast on 33 stitches, knit 12 rows, knit 4 rows, stocking stitch here, and then started on the 5th row on the Rosebud pattern. And I will show how I've worked out the Rosebud pattern. I'm checking my book here to get the right stitches to start with. I'll blow this up a little bit. And so I've already done 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the first rosebud, the second one, the first one, and the second one again. So I'm on to the first one again. And as I told you before, to find out where you put that center stitch for the between the 2 little holes here, you follow this from the hole here up to the needle. That's the stitch there, and that's the 2 stitches you knit together. So you're going to knit with 2 stitches first. That's 1, 2, and you're going to knit 2 together, yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, and then pass that slip stitch over, and then knit 5 stitches. Knit 2 together, yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 5 again, knit 2 together, yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, and now we're going to knit the last 2, 4, 6 stitches. And that's the first row of the pattern, and the next row is a purl, so I will pause that way to do the purl. And now we're on to the single hole row. We're going to knit 4, yarn forward, knit 2, knit 8, yarn forward, knit 2, knit 8, yarn forward, knit 2 together, and then we're going to knit the last 2, 4, 6, 7 stitches. That's a 7. Now I'm going to knit another 5 rows and show you how to do the other pattern rows. That's those 4 rows knitted, or 5 rows including the purl row. So I'm on to the next part. Get some of this wool out the way. Pull some off the ball. Down there. Wool's all wrapped around the handles on my cupboard doors here. That's better. Now we are doing the next bud, the second bud here. It's this one here. So to follow, you follow again where I showed you how to do this, follow from the single hole up to the needle, which is this stitch here. So you're going to knit those 2 together before that stitch, so you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches to knit. So we're going to knit 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knit 2 together. Wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, then you're going to knit 5, let's knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, and there you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So I'm going to knit 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, knit 2, wool forward, knit 1, 1 forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and knit the last stitch. And that's the second part of the Rosebud pattern. Now I'm going to do another purl row, so I pause it again. Now we're back on the Rosebud row again. This time we're going to knit 9, 8, 9, wool forward, knit 2 together, knit 8, wool forward, knit 2 together again, knit 8, wool forward, knit 2 together, and knit the last 2 stitches. And that's the two the Rosebud patterns that you need to do. And now I'll be knitting another 5 rows after that before I start the next one. And then I'm going to knit up to 9.5 inches up to the armhole. But I have been doing, put these together. This is the back. and this will be the left front here. And as you can see, I am trying to match the pattern up on both sides. It's a bit awkward there because there's only half of the rosebud on that part there. It's as best I could match the pattern up there, because I also like to keep the pattern for the front, so that the rosebud is close to where the bands are going on. And that's my little bit for now. I'll come back when I get further up the sleeve, further up the side, I should say, not the sleeve. Now we have reached 9.5 inches, and we're doing the armhole shaping now. We've cast off 3 stitches on the right side row, and knit 4 rows, and on the 5th row we've decreased, and the next row decreased. And I'll show you how to find the rosebud for the next decrease. So it's knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and now we have to find, this is the hole for to find the stitch for the centre stitch, the hole in the rosebud there, and follow that up to the needle. Yeah, those are the 2 stitches we're knitting together, so we'll have to knit another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit 2 together, yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that stitch, slip stitch over, knit 5, knit 2 together, yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and knit the last 6 stitches to the end of the row. And that is how you work out where the rosebuds go when you're doing the decreasing, because you have to work that out for yourself once you start the decreasing. That have decreased until there are 17 stitches left, and now we're going to do the neck shaping. I'm going to cast off 4 stitches at the neck edge, 2, 3, 4, pull across to the end of the row, now we're going to decrease at the neck edge on the next 2 rows, as well as decreasing at the armhole edge as well. 1 decrease, two decrease, now we're going to decrease on alternate rows on both sides. That's decreasing at the armhole edge. And at the neck edge. We're going to do it twice more at the neck edge, so that's 4 times altogether. That's 8 with the stitches are cast off. And that's a decrease for the neck edge, and now we're only going to decrease at the armhole edge until we have 2 stitches left, and we'll knit those 2 together. Just seeing how long the raglan is. There's 2 stitches left, and I'm going to purl those 2 together. And that is the decrease for the finished for the side. So that's the left side done. And when you do the right side, you just reverse all the shaping. But I will show you how to start these stitches off, because you'll have to reverse the stitching for these to get the rosebuds in the right place for the front and the side. I'm onto the sleeve now, and I've done the rib, and I cast on 35 stitches, and I knit 12 rows in rib, and then I knit, there are 4 rows after the rib before you start the rosebud. But on the 3rd row, that's when I started the increasing. So I increased on the 3rd row, and then on every 6th row after that, until you have 51 stitches on the needle. And you have to incorporate those extra stitches into the pattern, so you have to work out, you know, with the extra stitches where you're putting the extra rosebuds on the thing. But it's like I've said, it's very easy to explain. I'll put it on, blow it up, and as you just have to, well, on this next row here, and look for, this is where the last hole was, and I follow that stitch up to the needle that is here. So the 2 stitches in front before that stitch, you would be knitting 2 together. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There would be the 5 stitches that you knit, but there's only 3 stitches. It's not enough to do another rosebud before that, so I would just knit 8 up to the next one. Although there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am onto an increasing row as well. So it's going to be 9 stitches actually. So we're going to knit 1 stitch, and then knit into the back of it. And knit another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there you have the stitch below. Follow that up to the needle. There, that's your centre stitch that you're knitting. So those first 2 stitches there are going to be knitted together. Knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1 and pass the slip stitch over, and that's your 5 stitches for the rosebud. And then you just knit as before. You do your 5 in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then carry on doing your rosebuds across the row. Knit 2, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over. So knit another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knit 2, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, and then we're going to knit to the last 3 stitches. And that's an increasing row, so we are knitting into the front of the stitch and then into the back of the stitch, and then knit the last 2 stitches. And that's how I've shown you how to find where to put the rosebud. So all you have to do is keep on increasing on every 6th row until you have 51 stitches, and then I will be back when I get up to the armholes. So we are now up to the armholes, and I've cast off 3 stitches on the knit row and the purl row, and carried on with the pattern, and I've increased on the 5th row and the 9th row, and then every other row, and that's what I'm doing till I have 7 stitches left. And I'm just increasing. I've joined the ball of wool on here, that's why there's threads hanging there. That's why I've joined the ball of wool on there. So I'm going to knit the first stitch, slip the next stitch, knit the next stitch, pass the slip stitch over, and now I have to find out where I'm putting the rosebud, because it's a rosebud row. And as I've told you before, there's the hole, the centre, where the centre stitch is, and you just follow that stitch up to the needle. Now I have 4 stitches. Yeah, so that's the centre stitch that's knitted, and the 2 next to it are knitted together. So I'm going to knit 2 stitches, knit those 2 stitches together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over, knit 5, knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 5, let's knit 2 together, wool forward, knit 1, wool forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, then I'm going to knit to the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together, knit 1, and that's how you do the decreasing, and you'll keep on doing that until you have 7 stitches left, and then you put those stitches onto a holder. So that is the sleeve finished, and the 7 stitches onto a safety pin, the holder, and now I'm going to pick up the stitches for the neck. So I've started picking up the stitches for the neck, and I've picked up 15 stitches on the on the right front. And that's the right, yes, that's the right front. Picked up 15 stitches along the right front, 7 stitches from one sleeve, there's 25 stitches from the back. Now I'm going to pick up the other 7 stitches off the other sleeve. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 7 stitches off the pin. And now I'm going to pick up 15 stitches on the left front. And pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's 15 stitches on the left front now. Now the first row, you knit across all the stitches, and that puts a ridge on the other side, so for the start of the band. And I always pick up the stitches for the neckband before I do the sewing up, so that you can always tighten the stitches for the sewing up, where you can't if you've already sewn it up and you get loops, loose loops around the seam. And then I'm just going to finish knitting that row, and as you can see, that's the ridge across where it's like the first row is a garter row, and then it's knit one, purl one, rib after that, but I'll be back when I get that far. There you can see the garter ridge across the back of the neckband, and that's the neckband. All the stitches picked up on the neckband. There's 15 stitches on the first front, 7 stitches on the sleeve, 25 on the back, 7 on the next sleeve, and 15 on the other front. And all those stitches come to 69. That's 69 stitches you picked up. Now I'm going to knit another 5 rows in 1 by 1 rib, and then cast off loosely and knit 1, purl 1, rib. And for that, you can see the neckband there. I picked up 15 stitches right front, 7 stitches sleeve, 25 stitches back, 7 stitches the other sleeve, 15 stitches left front, and that's 69 stitches. Row 1 is knit all stitches. Row 2 to 5, knit 1 by 1 rib and cast off loosely in 1 by 1 rib. Now I'll come back when I've done that. So that's 4 rows in rib. I've knitted 1 row, garter, and 4 rows in rib, and I'm going to cast off loosely these stitches now. You're casting off in rib so that you get a stretchy cast off. Don't pull the stitch tight when you cast it off, just leave it loose. And I've knit the neckband in twisted rib, and I'm casting it off in twisted rib as well. It all depends what type of rib you're doing, but all my ribs are done in twisted rib. And as you can see, there's a bit of stretch in that. You don't want it tight. And now we'll be back at the end of that row. So that's the neckband finished. And as you can see, there's enough stretch in it for... I don't want it too tight or the top buttons will not fasten. And now it's time to sew it up. And I'm showing you on my pin cushion here with my needles and pins in. And the reason I do the neck first is, as you can see, these stitches, the wool where the last stitches were, we like to pull that stitch tight, and the same with that one there, pull it tight. Whereas if you've already stitched it up, sometimes you get loose stitches like that and you can't pull them tight if you've already stitched it up when you put the neck on. So I always put the neck on first, and then you're doing the sleeves, the raglans, putting the raglan, the sleeves onto the front, and you want a few pins just to keep it in place. Then I have two ends here, so I'm going to fasten these ends together and cut one of them off because I don't need both of them to stitch the, find out which is the longest, so they're both about the same. So I cut one off, thread my needle, and you flat stitch the seams, which means you hold them together like that. Not, you don't fold them like that and sew over the top, you flat stitch them like that. And you just go from the stitches from one side to the other. And I'm over sewing that that end that I tied off. Take that pin out. And that is how you flat stitch the seam. Flat stitching is the neatest way to do these, the raglan seams. And as you can see, it makes a nice, neat seam on the other side. Now I will come back to show you how to do the side when I get the seams, all these seams done. And when you're doing these flat seams, do not pull the stitches tight. Just sew them over loosely. If you pull them tight, it'll pucker up the seam and it'll make the seam look gathered. So you just lightly sew without tightening it. You have to tighten it slightly, but not too much. So that's the 4 raglan seams done, front, back. And now we'll do the seams for the side and the sleeves. And when you do the cuffs, you do a flat stitch like you did on the raglan. Put a pin into to hold it. And you hold the two sides of the sleeve seam together. And you take a stitch from each side and just flat stitch down that seam. and down to the where the rib meets the stocking stitch, and then you pin a few the sides, put a few pins in just to start it off. And the side seam and the sleeve seam is a back stitch. The back stitch is just going in, holding the two seams together, the two sides of the seam, and going back over the stitch. Takes a bit longer than flat stitching, but that's the best way to do the seams. And that's how you do the seams. So I will sew up the seams, and then the next thing would be to show how to put the bands on. Right, I have knit the band for the buttons, and I'm now going to do the band for the buttonholes. And I place markers. It's 15 inches from here, from the bottom to the top of the band. So you're working on 6 stitches to the inch. So you're going to do 11 stitches, place markers every 2 inches from the band. The next one 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, and so on. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. And the space where the band is, you put 11 stitches in there, and all the other spaces make it 12 stitches. Pick up 12 stitches between each. And then you're going to knit the first row like a garter row, and then it's knit 1, purl 1 for 6 rows. But in those 6 rows, when I come to the buttonhole, when I come to do the buttonholes, I'll come back and tell you what row to do the buttonholes on. So I've placed markers where I'm going to put the buttonholes, and I've counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, every seventh knit stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll just space them out like that. And this is on the 4th row. So I'm going to 1, now you've knit that stitch where the marker is, so bring your wool forward and knit the next 2 stitches together, and keep this the buttonhole part slack. I keep my finger on it so it doesn't go tight. And then just rib down to the next buttonhole. And we're at the next space where we're going to put the buttonhole. So you knit that knit stitch where the marker is. Bring your wool forward, knit 2 together, keep the wool slack. As you can see, it's pretty loose, that stitch. And then just rib down to the next marker, and do that for every buttonhole, for every marker you come to. Just knit 2 together, wool forward and knit 2 together, sorry. And that's it for the buttonholes. And I'll be back shortly. So that's the cardigan fully completed. Buttons on. And for anyone wanting the instructions, so this is the full instructions. There's a few pages, so I'll hold it so hold it long enough for you to either take a screenshot or copy it down, but there is quite a lot on the Rosebud patterns. And that is the finish of this tutorial. I'm going to upload it now. Well, sort it out and edit out all the little bits that's not needed and put the rest up. So thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll catch you all another day. So bye for now.